All right. Are we recording?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we've been recording.
Keep as much worthless shit as you can in the intro. Make sure. Hi everybody, welcome to the podcast of us. I am host number 1, Stephen Rose. You guys know me by now. If you don't, you should. We're here. We're talking about episodes 7 and 8 because we got a little bit sidetracked with life and whatnot. So we're gonna kind of combine. We're gonna mash and bash 2 episodes together. I'm a big gamer, big nerd. Love The Last of Us. I've worked with wood before, so I get excited watching it burn, watching it be smacked on people. You know how it is. Exactly. And then I guess I'm just gonna go from me to the right here or left, depending on which direction you're looking at this. This is.
I'm Chai. I'm host number 4.
Host number 4. We number each other here.
We're all graded here, all right.
The cat's the third one.
Yeah, Meowser Beams.
Beams has been around longer. It's okay.
I'm Tanner Cherry. I worked on the show for about a year as a scenic carpenter. This has been incredible, especially, oh my God, episode 8. I have so much to talk about. But I find it fitting that we're doubling up on co-hosts when we're doubling up on episodes. So this is we're gonna start talking about 7. We decided, not only because of like how our schedules lined up, but because of how, I guess, episode 7, great episode, but I don't know if we both kind of feel like maybe there's not a whole lot to touch on. So we're just lumping it in double episode, double feature. It's like when you go to the drive-in and you get 2 movies at once. So yeah, welcome to episode 7/8.
Yeah, we can't. We didn't actually buy the font, or am I allowed to say that? Just bleep that whole thing. We don't necessarily have slashes, so you'll notice lots of commas, and that's actually designed intentionally. So don't make that mistake.
Yeah, we're working on a budget here.
Exactly right. Exactly, free 50. So I guess just to start off, we'll touch on 7. Obviously, episode 7, Left Behind. That's where you finally get to learn about Riley, who, was a defect to the Fireflies or whatever. Was going to be working sewage duty. Had her whole story arc with the mall, kind of with Ellie and sort of Ellie's first dead person.
Most importantly, also a little bit of story of Ellie before the first time we see her in the game and the series. Mm-hmm. Like it's something about who she was before. Well, I mean, not really. It's like she was born post infection, right? Yeah. So there is no, like, you got Joel and Sarah before the shit went down. But Ellie's never seen that, so it's interesting watching her growing up in like an interesting environment. I did really appreciate that, like the whole, her running through the gym
school,
and the fact that her superior was, had very much identified that she was quite intelligent, and trying to set her straight and get her on track to be. He believed she could be a leader, and
which we'll see again in episode 8. Actually, is kind of a thing that. Are saying to her.
You keep watching the previews and I keep not. Like, it's because Callie's just like, no, I don't want to watch the previews, my wife. And I keep seeing them in my timeline or whatever on like social media and getting like little clues.
I haven't seen 9. I haven't seen the preview for 9, and I didn't watch the preview for 8. I just watched episode 7 and called, but I had to know a little bit about what to expect going into episode 7. After episode 6,
yeah,
that's curious. And I also rewatched like basically the entire fucking game just recently because I was like, I'm just tired of being wrong.
It's been a hot minute since you played.
It's been a hot minute. Yeah. And you know what the funny fucking thing is I watched a bunch of this goddamn game. I watched just a bunch of it.
They made like man. The first 10 minutes gonna have to.
No, they changed that. They changed that policy. Really? Like today, I just watched a Voice Critical video on it. They reverted that policy, so we can swear again, but we just can't swear aloud. We can't. You can't. Just no extreme use of the F word all the time is their whole thing. So woohoo! But no, so I watched a bunch of it basically, just to sort of kind of compare how the show has chalked up to this, the series going forward. And I managed to find the only video that was the goddamn PS3 version.
Oh,
So we're watching the shitty PS3
We're like
graphics.
pausing and just fucking making fun of it. Like,
Yes,
look
guys.
at that. It looks like he's not even on snow. He's in a gymnasium. Like,
Yeah, the graphics just sucked, right? Like,
this is 2D.
dude, it's like the nostalgia glasses are so strong. Like I played N64 GoldenEye 007 a little while
Oh,
ago,
God.
and like I don't remember when I was a kid, I do not
that
remember
game
it looking
runs
that
like
bad.
15 frames a second. It's
Oh.
unbearable.
The frame rate is obnoxious, and yeah, it's funny. I can imagine. I don't know if I definitely didn't play The Last of Us on PS3. I played it last year on it was a PS4, and I was through my Elgato Cam Link or whatever. So it's like, I had a decent screen to watch it on. PS4 looks quite a bit better.
Well, I feel like they released it on PS3, right? Then like a year later, PS4 came out, and then like a few months after that, they put it on PS4. So I beat it on PS3. Then I like immediately beat it on PS4 again. And so like my memory of the PS3 version is just kind of wiped out. You know what I mean, that's just I don't really that's
To
old
be
news
fair,
now.
like with good reason.
Right?
Yeah.
So bad.
Well, so then so the kicker to that story is that after all that bullshit, we actually went back. I noticed that there was one. I was like, hold on. And I clicked this, and we watched the exact same scenes in the PS5 remake, where The Last of Us remake or Part 1, the one that I'm really itching to play, comes out on PC on the 28th. And I was just like, Jesus Christ! I watched the exact same scene with the dudes that looked like they were floating on the snow. Like it was so bad. It was so bad. And then I watched it there. I was like, this is stunning. She was just going like, this is art.
Is this the first game ever that has been like PS3, 4, and 5, like full remasters?
Skyrim?
Probably Skyrim. Definitely.
Is it on PS5? Like, it's gotta be.
Every
gotta be.
platform you could find.
I think there's a Skyrim on Alexa.
Like
On your smart fridge?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Actually,
man.
legit.
new Doom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well-
So, but that was just sort of the whole reason. But the thing was that I kind of went back and just wanted to like get some context for how everything went down. Left Behind is basically pretty much how I remembered it. I really did like how they went into kind of Ellie as a potential officer for Fedra, right? One of the leading officers or whatever, and how potential for a leader. And I guess the character is not. I never really saw the character as like particularly violent or like intense
Ellie?
in the game as a youth. Well, I mean, like more than anyone else fucking would be, you'd think. Do you know what I mean? You kind of don't really make it in a rough and tumble world without being a little bit hard, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious why she was singled out or being like bullied. I wonder, like, it must have been because of her attitude, right?
Maybe, yeah. Or she's like short. She kind of seems short for
Like a runt of the litter.
If Riley was like a similar age, which I assume, and I don't actually know this. In game they're similar heights and whatever, but this Ellie's a little shorter, so maybe could be any reason, right? Just being smaller or whatever. So you have your big friend Riley beat your friends up for you, or whatever, or not your friends, your opponents or whatever, or your friends, whoever the fuck. God, the liberal use of the F word. Well, welcome back.
Yeah, I guess maybe we should say for anybody listening that's not aware is this last episode, episode 7 of The Last of Us that took place with Riley and Ellie's story at the mall was not in the original game. It was the downloadable content. It was the first DLC.
Yes.
So it was like the expansion of the story, so it wasn't in the original game. It was like a piece that was added to expand on her story.
Like 6 months after the game came out. Yeah. It was. So you didn't really have that. And in fact, the first game, one of the last lines, like probably fifth last line was, I never told you, I had someone pass away on me, before all of this. Her name was Riley. She was the first one. And she said, let's lose our minds and be all poetic together or whatever, right? Let's lose our minds together,
right?
Be all poetic, right?
Yeah.
So she says that right at the end of the game when, Joel's taking her back to Jackson. And then he goes, oh, wow. Right? She said that was the first person to go for me, right? She's like, and I'm still waiting for my turn. That's her line. She says to Joel.
You know what? Now that you're saying this, I recall that I remember when the episode 7 ended. It ended a touch abruptly because I was like, whoa, what happens the morning after?
I
and
think
in episode
we'll
8 they didn't. they didn't touch on it.
Yeah. I
No,
really
yeah.
thought in episode 8 they were going to dabble in between again, right? It was going to kind of intermingle because that is how Left Behind is. It does show pieces of Joel when Joel is down,
Yeah.
and she's
Down for the
remembering
count.
stuff. Yeah, it does kind of mingle those parts in different ways, right? So I kind of was surprised they didn't do that, but there's a couple things they cut out. Obviously, so there is some like sort of combat and distraction kind of crap in Left Behind. It's not crap, it's gameplay. It just
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily translate to
Not
TV.
additive.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the story.
It's not really necessary, right? I think I watched. Speaking of those videos of the game cut down, right? To speak on those, like the movies as they call them on the YouTube or whatever the hell on the YouTubes. It was about. It was
What's
about. I
YouTube?
think. Exactly. I don't know. I only use Vine. It's about. It was like 9 hours for a full gameplay / whatever playthrough. If they were skipping kind of the unnecessary gameplay / being killed.
Slash being killed.
Really
Yeah.
million.
It's like, yeah, which happens a lot. I think that probably adds double time at least. But and obviously this person knows where they're going too. So there's sometimes in the game where you're just walking in circles, being like,
Trying to find all the collectibles.
Henry Cavill is the Witcher and picking. Oh, it looks like shit on the ground. Where's that fucking ladder? Which trash can do I gotta move?
Yeah, it's so true.
But so I like logically it makes sense. But so the reason I mentioned all this was because I looked into it and I did call this at the beginning of the season ish, but I would like to call myself out for being a fucking idiot, and this is why. I called out I think episode 0
Clipping this.
that maybe this series ends right after the David arc. Right?
Oh, you
I said
thought
maybe this season ends right after the David arc at wintertime. Or right, like just after. And
so you were thinking that they were going to leave out the
Well,
the
what
most
I
important thing that's going to be in
forgot-
next episode?
what I forgot was that part is like the second last thing to happen in the game. So my prediction was stupid as fuck. Like I remember all the parts of the game. I just forgot what order they were in. I thought that like Sam and Henry were before Bill. Just like I played it so many times that I don't even know. Like I honestly just like I just knew the characters, knew all the parts, but I forgot what order you went through them in. So to realize like going back and watching this gameplay footage, I'm like I'm a moron. I'm like I can't remember what happens after David. That's what spawned all this. And I'm like right.
Yeah, because there's only like a little bit left.
The fucking end of the game.
The tragedy and the ultimately, I guess, spoilers, not spoilers, finding out how bad of a person Joel is.
Yeah, right?
I mean, it's not like it's a secret. They kind of allude to it.
Oh,
the
yeah.
entire
Okay,
time,
so
right?
this-
Like, this guy's a piece of shit every chance
totally
they
want
get.
to talk about the interrogation, don't you?
Yes, of course. But we're talking about episode 7 right now.
I know. Well, I don't know what else do we have to talk about 7. I feel like such an asshole. Just skip right over it.
I'll talk about
You
my
know, so wait.
experience with like the working on there with episode 7 because
Also,
there's really cool
Ellie's
stuff
a
there.
lesbian.
Oh, yeah.
Did you figure that out?
Ellie gay.
There you go. Ellie gay.
Ellie gay.
Ellie gay. Yeah, looking at the bathing suit, whatever the hell, and got bit. That's where she got bit. That's another part. That's a thing that you might want to know. And then they waited it out. I actually would have really liked to know. She said she waited it out with Riley. That was never really explained in game. I don't think
It wasn't in
Yeah,
the
like,
game
did
either?
she kill her?
Yeah.
Or
I don't
Like,
not
did
that
she
I'm-
just leave her there?
Not that I
No, man.
remember,
If
man.
they committed to Ellie, would be thinking at that moment that she's gonna die with her, or
yes.
turn.
Eventually
Right?
she's gonna go.
So
Yes.
Ellie's gonna wake up and be like,
Why am I fine?
"Why am I fine and you're
Yeah.
absolutely not?" So
But
Right.
I feel like that brings a lot of questions. Like,
If you haven't been beaten to death, like you don't wake up with your fucking skull caved in,
what if there's still like an alive Riley in that mall?
wait,
You know?
Yeah.
oh, like Ellie just bails and
Yeah, like
Riley's
she just bailed and like left her there.
I mean, it's
Like,
pretty hard.
does she Mercy kill her? Does she Like, I feel like that is a pretty Ellie move.
Yeah, see, I would like to
she
know the
did-
answer to this.
She
But
did
I
ask.
had questions.
She did ask Joel if you ever feel bad or feel like the person who was in there was still them.
Yeah. And I
That's
mean,
at
there
the
was that whole
beginning,
scene
like
where she,
episode
like,
3.
cut open that.
You cut open the one to sort of see what it looked like or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Above its eyeball.
Yeah, that
Right?
scene
And that
was
was
interesting.
kind of. Well, we talked about that and how I'm like, I think that maybe harkens back to, her infection and what happened with Riley and kind
Yeah.
of like why I'm different or what this looks like. What do I look like under the skin was probably a question she has as well, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing whether or not. I mean, the finale's only a 45-minute episode. I feel like they got a lot to touch on, right? So I don't know if they're gonna we're gonna finish this series and we're not gonna get to know what happened to Riley, which is interesting. But I guess we don't get to know what happened in the game either.
Well, okay, maybe we do though. Maybe they elaborate on the show, right? Because I
deviated a little.
do not fucking know how they plan to fit the end of this game into episode 9. I don't know. Like, honestly, the fact that you said 45 minutes or whatever, I don't know how you do justice. If they just cut all the combat out of that part, you're dumb. You're stupid.
The cutscenes alone are like
Because the
45
cutscenes
minutes.
themselves, literally from that part, basically from David's end to the end of the game, is at least 45 minutes. We were looking at like game wise, just cutscenes.
Interesting.
Well. So that if you're not gonna have them go full Rambo mode and just destroy, this entire building, which we're not gonna explain why or anything, we're not gonna have them go Rambo mode, then I am mortified.
I feel like that's some of the gameplay too that like actually really matters. I mean,
We can't spoil it. We can't spoil it. But you're motivated. You're motivated to be violent.
On that note, I also when we were rewatching for episode 8, like all of the cutscenes and stuff, they left out like a lot. Like there was like no infected in that episode, and there was infected in the game.
This is one thing that I wanted to bring up. I guess we'll talk about that now because we're talking about 7 and 8, which sort of we're going to lump in episode 6 here because episode 6 had 0 infected. Episode 7 had 1. Briefly.
Episode
8 had
they
none.
at?
And I'm
Is it
curious.
Walking Dead?
There is. I have seen a lot of chatter where, for instance, when you play as Ellie with Tommy, there's parts where you encounter clickers infected. And
you're sniping them.
Yeah.
Tommy's teaching you to shoot.
all of these things that are being displayed in the series at present, in the game, in some level, it incorporate infected into it. And in the series, they're really stepping away from the infected. And like I just want to say, like episodes 6, 7, and 8, there is 1 infected, and that seems kind of whack. I don't understand why they're doing that.
The best episodes so far, I mean, I really like episode 8, but the best episode so far, I feel like, has been 5. Besides the Bill and Frank story for its own merits and just like how like moving it was.
Yeah.
I feel like episode 5 was just the most bombastic.
And I think episode 8 actually sits right close. I'm gonna
for
say
different reasons.
Like David, the actor who played David, and of course Troy Baker coming back to not reprise his role as Joel, but to play David's right-hand man, James, which, man, there was a few scenes, that, like 2 or 3 moments where I felt like goosebumps. Like Troy Baker, holy shit, was his acting incredible. Like I felt his confusion. I felt his, everything about that character was just like, so
let's
good.
just jump in. Let's jump into 8. So when it opens,
well, okay.
it shows us
Before we
the future,
do, I guess I want to talk about before we leave 7 behind.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the fact that mall was like negotiated as a location to work with in Calgary because it was a mall that was about to be torn down. And it's Northland Mall. It's a mall that like everybody in Calgary knows pretty well, right? And the mall shut down, and The Last of Us moved in and started reshaping everything to look the way that they wanted to, right? So I ended up working on a lot of stuff in the shop, building a lot of the stuff for all of those stores, like the Victoria's Secret in general. There was these cabinets that were meant to have. There had like drawers. There was 8 drawers with little acrylic faces on them. They were meant to be like bra and panty drawers or whatever. and I got like 2 of those, and one of them was like prominently in the shot, which was kind of cool. It wasn't full of anything, but I just wanted, like, man, there was, I think, 2 other stores where we built like the entire interior of the store, all of the friggin' clothes racks, like everything, all of the display cases, all of the everything, and didn't make it to film.
Oh no!
Didn't, like, just.
Oh my god!
It's incredible how much stuff we built for that mall, and how little of it was seemingly used. And also, like, when they were walking through the food court, man, like, I have sat in that food court and eaten Subway or whatever, like, there's so many times. It was so trippy watching the 2 of them walk through that food court, and it was like, the food court was pretty much untouched. It was just like it was in real life.
The Taco Mart or whatever the hell
yeah,
it was.
well, yeah,
the
store names
pipe
are
bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those stores, like, I've eaten at almost every single one of those. There was a killer poutine place in that mall food court. It was like a little mom and pop shop poutine place. But I thought one of the coolest things was, like, while they're walking down like the main hall, or even, you know, when they walk in and it's like a two level mall, like all of that is
moving stairs.
it's a single level mall.
Cute.
And like when they're walking on the level where the Victoria's Secret and the arcade is, the ceiling is all VFX. It's just all blue screen, like VFX adding that second level. And I thought that was so cool because I've been in that mall so many times.
Well, that's game accurate too. It would be kind of strange.
Yeah.
Because I know there's like an aspect. I haven't played Left Behind, and I will admit I didn't rewatch it. I haven't replayed Left Behind a bunch because it's not a super gameplay filled thing. So I don't have a ton to say about it. But I do remember there being verticality. I specifically remember that.
Yeah, so the mall...
There's 2 layers to that.
The mall in Calgary is actually a single layer. It was not a 2-level mall. So it was just so cool seeing the mall that I recognize and that I've been to many, many times. But like the way that they just made it look like a 2-story mall, and it was just
the
like...
blue screen ceiling or whatever the hell.
The VFX artists are so talented. They're so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have even noticed that. Now I'm going to look for it really hard. But I wouldn't have even noticed that. Yeah. So I like that a lot. And actually, you know what, that reminds me of the scene with Riley and defecting to the Fireflies, where she finds the pipe bombs or whatever, which I thought was a nice touch because that's a in-game item.
Yeah.
You know, it's big shout out. They look exactly like they do in game. So it's fun. It was funny to see that. Kind of interesting to see that. But I don't know. I guess Ellie did really good acting wise. Ellie, you know, Bella Ramsey. Oh, wait, open stuff. Yeah, I feel like she did really good acting in terms of seeming like a confused friend. Kind of territory. I really liked that. You know, she's a young lady
exploring her sexuality and stuff. You know what? Before we move off this episode, I really liked it. I think it was like a pretty important kind of piece to bringing, like, almost marrying the idea of Joel and Ellie together in like their relationship, because it's definitely been like Joel's a caretaker and he will not like allow Ellie any wiggle room. And I know that he's been put into a position now after like being, you know, basically fatally wounded for her to like have to take care of him. But it's kind of like I was saying this to Steve when we were watching it, that like, you know, he has the whole backstory with Sarah and wanting to like do better and save Ellie, like he wasn't able to, and she wants to be able to save Joel because she wasn't able to save Riley, right? I don't know. I feel like it was a pretty important episode.
Yeah, it was like the moment
I guess the
where
name even left behind.
Yeah.
Where like Joel tells her to go, right? Just basically leave me. Like I'm fucked. Like you need to save yourself. And she like thinks about it for a second and like really commits. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Which is.
And I'd like to also mention, shout out to a little Easter egg for anyone who is the gamer there. Her ripping open every single fucking drawer.
Yeah, I know.
Looks exceptionally similar to the one in game. Mm-hmm. They did a wicked job on modeling the inside of the house, and even the window, and just a lot of it just looks very similar to how it was in game. Like I just watched it recently, so I'm quite fresh on the game. And I thought that was impressive. And then her rifling through all these fucking drawers full of fucking nothing, and
making
I love
it a mess.
I'm like, that is the last best I've ever seen it. Oh, there's a roll of fucking tape in here. There's half a pair of scissors, a broken stick. Why is that in a drawer? Yeah. So that's funny. Even when we were watching the gameplay too, it's funny because there's certain scenes where in the game they'd have an item in like a cutscene or whatever the fuck, and it would just be highlighted as a little like super iridescent, obvious glow.
Oh,
You know?
the knife. The knife.
Oh yeah. Well, that's in episode 8, but but yeah, like as Joel's leaving the house to go find Ellie in episode 8, basically, and he's just like grabbing random ammunition in the basement where he was sleeping on the mattress.
Yeah.
He's like hobbling, but also collecting things.
There's like random bullets everywhere, and it's
The
like
like
what
hand
the
grab.
fuck? Yeah, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. He's just picking shit up, and you're like,
Uh-oh.
did we freeze?
Oh, you're back.
Oh, okay, all right, that's good. I don't know whose end that was on.
I don't know.
Sorry,
you know what? Yeah,
viewer.
we had Wi-Fi issues the first time we tried to record, and I haven't had it since. So, hopefully.
Fun. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, maybe it's time. We need another blurst episode. So then, anything else? Any other thoughts on episode 7? Besides, like, I would like to know more, even just from like a viewer of the show's perspective. I do hope that they touch more on what happened in the last moments of Riley and Ellie.
Well,
It will be
I
weird.
think it was that with Bill, so
Yeah.
it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, but I think, and just knowing that at the end of the game, the statement that she makes to Joel, perhaps when she says that, the first person was Riley. You see maybe
Oh, I see. Yeah.
a flash of what happened to
Anything,
Riley.
like, just give us a crumb.
And it's her running, or it's just has to do it herself or whatever.
Oh.
It gives you a quick glimpse into like her brutality or just like what she's had to do.
Yeah.
And then and then flash back to where they are at the present time, kind of deal. Maybe we'd see something like that. I'm kind of hoping that we get a little more elaboration on that, because I felt the same way.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't just cut it there.
Well, if that is in fact the case, like if Ellie had a dispatch of Riley, like this is what, like a matter of hours after like proclaiming your love to this person and like receiving like the mutual, and then immediately being attacked, and directly following that having to murder that person, like that. I mean, Ellie's starting to make sense.
Well, I think so, and that could be a good kickoff for season 2, which we will now know will be for sure just part 2. It's going to be part 2, and it's a vicious character arc, to say the least.
Yeah.
So
So
that's my
the only
thoughts
other
kinda
thing
wrapping up.
in regards to like construction, set construction, like I worked on the rooftop sets a little bit, like. That was directly following Christmas when I went back. We were working on all those rooftops, the ones that they climb up and then they hop across from
To
rooftop
get to
to
them
rooftop.
all.
Yeah, those rooftops were like all in one of the Calgary Film Center sound stages, and it was cool because like one of them we had to build like the entire rooftop was on casters so that we could like move the one rooftop over to the next side of like another rooftop. It's like they're repurposing the one for like multiple shots, and
that's smart.
Yeah, it was fun building those. I mean, like. It's wild seeing the rooftops that I remember, but like the way that they made them look in the episode is that they're like hundreds of feet in the air, 50 feet in the air with like depth of field in the background. Like it's just incredible what they can do with a blue screen and lighting and how they mesh it perfectly. It just blows me away. Like I've never had an opportunity to see what a film set looks like and then see the way that it looks like on the silver screen. And it's just like, how do you it's sorcery. It's absolute sorcery.
Yeah.
It's a lot of this.
Yeah, it's a lot of skrill.
A ton of this.
And you know what? And talent.
And talent.
Right?
Yeah, you can spend all the money in the world, but you get the wrong people, you still get a piece of shit. So, shout out to everybody working on the show.
Shout out to IATSE 212.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Jesus for making this all possible. Big ups. Big ups to the big man, am I right? Moving on. That one's for my Christians.
Yeah, speaking of David.
Yeah, that's the segue, baby. That's what we're talking about. All right.
Professionals, we're professionals here.
Let's get right into it. So when I first saw the opening of the episode, I was sitting there going, that's David. No. David?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. That's David.
It had David Presence, right? But it didn't look like the character from the game.
It doesn't look like the character. Troy Baker does.
Yeah,
David, honestly.
That's true.
Troy Baker looks like David from the game.
If they swapped roles, it would have made more sense visually.
I heard that Troy Baker auditioned to be Joel in the show, and he wasn't chosen.
I think that's so stupid.
Yeah.
Because Troy Baker couldn't make himself not sound like Joel if he tried. And it's so funny. It's like, I heard him talk, and I couldn't see his face. And I said... I'm like, that's Troy Baker. Like, that's Joel. She's like, what? Who? I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, what? I'm like, zoom in. I'm looking at the TV and I'm going, zoom in, motherfucker. Zoom in. And it zooms in on his face. I'm like, that's Troy Baker. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Did you not know that he was going to be in the series until that moment?
No idea.
Interesting.
No idea.
Because
I had no concept, but I heard Joel's voice for 1 second. I was like, that's my boy.
So you probably don't know who's going to be in the next episode then, hey?
Is it Nathan goddamn Drake? It's Nolan North. Of course it is.
Well, no, I'm just gonna. If you don't know, I'm just gonna leave it as a surprise. But there's another it's gonna be quintessential fucking voice actor in the next episode.
It's gonna be Ellie. There's like fucking 5 characters in that game. Who the fuck else is gonna be?
Well, you'll see, because they they definitely have done a good job of littering the series with the voice actors from the original game. But in totally different roles, which, dude, Troy Baker as James was
Nolan
like...
North. Yeah. Well, just so in game, the James is for anyone who is loosely remembering the show right now. James is like the next hand best man to David.
Yeah, he's David's right hand man.
Exactly. That's what I was attempting to say.
Next hand, best hand.
Next hand, best hand, second guy.
Second guy.
Good man, big arms, tough guy. Kind of skinny. Looks unhealthy.
Yeah, he looks a little hungry.
You know what? They all looked a lot more rough than the dudes in the game. Like they were all ugly. I'm sorry.
I did say that in the show too when I was watching it.
You said that to me.
I was like, why are all these guys so ugly?
Yo, you know what's funny is like even Troy Baker looked pretty rough that like first scene or whatever.
He's handsome as shit.
Yeah, that dude
I said exactly that.
I had to argue this.
Handsome.
I had to argue this with Callie at the end. I was like, dude, that dude he's fucking gorgeous. And she was like, what do you mean? Like he looked pretty rough.
He usually is.
He doesn't always look like he's on heroin.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happens when you start
starving to death and getting mad cow disease.
Oh, yeah. So let's.
And so right off the hop, I want to say, when he's talking about the death of this guy, who we don't know or whatever the heck, right?
Yeah.
You know, when can we bury him? Right? And then there's this long kind of like silence, and he goes, "The ground's too cold.
Never.
So we'll do it in the spring." I was immediately like, "Oh. You mean you're eating them?"
Well, yeah, because I mean, if people who know the game knew instantly that this is a group of cannibals, or not?
Yes,
unknowingly. Well, are they So in the series here, David and I think James, may be the only 2 people that know.
Yes. Well,
right?
Okay. So in the show, I think 3 or 4 people know. I can't remember. I was reading up on it. Whatever. The fan theories, of course. It's not all proven, but whatever. Yeah. There's definitely. So James is like the butcher in the game.
Okay.
Right, and he's a lot less.
He met a fitting end then.
And dude, so this episode, in terms of like characters, what they do, and like the cutscene to movie or sorry TV show, the accuracy is like spot on. Like where the there's only a couple like lines they changed in a few places where I'm kind of like, why did you do that? Yeah. Right. Well, and I guess we'll get to that, right? But from the start, I thought Troy Baker was David because David was kind of a younger-ish guy. He actually doesn't talk that much about God or anything like that.
Yeah.
The religion aspect isn't really there. It's kind.
I think they hammed it up for the show.
Yeah. They big time did. I think there's one part in the fight versus David in the Steakhouse, which we'll get to, right? But where he says, "You almost shook my faith there." Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was like, but you don't really get the whole religious breakdown and the whole the cordyceps doesn't care and the violent heart. And
that was a beautiful, like, for me. I'm like, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a very avid Aliens franchise lover. That scene where he was talking about the cordyceps and the way that it was. Oh, great. My face hugger's flying off. It was so akin to, it immediately reminded me of Ash from the original Alien film, 1979, Ridley Scott. Ash was the android, and Ash was secretly like, you know, the AI logic brain was going crazy. He had like an obsession and an appreciation with the xenomorph, and it was a perfect organism that he described it. And like the way that he was talking about the xenomorph, and like that was David in that moment for me. Was when I was watching, it was like, holy shit.
I had a similar feeling.
Yeah.
But with the anime Parasite.
Oh yes, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, you know, like, he actually gets to, like, the main character of that show actually gets to communicate with the parasite, and then it's like, man, we're just trying to, I don't know how I got here, we're just trying to live, you know, and I guess it's kind of reframes the way that you can look at, you know, living organisms that are, like, parasitic, right?
Shout out Parasite the Maxim.
The Maxim?
Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's called Parasite the Maxim, so don't look up Parasite the Korean movie.
No, it's Parasite.
It's a very good movie.
It's Parasite with a Y.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
It's a really good anime.
Yeah, it's a cool series.
That's the same feel.
That's as if the cordyceps would be talking back to you and being like, you know, trying.
If you could communicate with them,
Fucking kill that guy. Fucking kill him.
Like, no, we don't do that here.
we can't. It's like, too bad. Yeah. So I like it's actually funny because he was talking to that little younger lady. I don't know how old she was. I don't give a shit. You know, whatever, 14-year-old or something, probably around Ellie's age.
The daughter.
And saying, you know, talking about like, I know you feel, I guess it wasn't in the beginning, but when he did say like, I know you feel like you don't have a father, but you do, and it's me or whatever. Basically saying that. Right, not God or anything. So, you know, alluding to the whole kind of cult thing, which is an interesting kind of way of showing a line that they cut from the game. So, I know I'm jumping around here, but the scene where Joel is interrogating, one of the first things that the guy says is, "She's alive. She's David's newest pet."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, that's from the game. In the game.
Oh, in the game
they don't say that in the show. So this is a pattern of him being a little bit, you know,
called leadery
and R-wordy. I'm not even gonna use that word.
Yeah, there's a P word that, you know, goes with that as well. But
there's a definite.
I don't think YouTube likes that one.
I don't think YouTube likes either of those words, so we'll avoid saying that. We like being recommended. That's a good word. That's a good R word. Recommended. But yeah, but the show actually, with the whole that while we're on that topic, the show actually displays a little bit more of that sort of sexual aggression.
Yeah. Or the possession vibe, you know, where he's like the entitlement
he's unbuttoning his pants at one point, where you're like, oh, and that's not in the game, but it's like heavily implied that that's kind of where it's headed due to the nature of the positions of them and whatnot. And so that was they kind of chose to just display those ideas a little differently. I don't necessarily prefer either way to the other. I kind of liked it being. I liked it the way they did it in the game because it was a little bit up in the air. It wasn't just like, you know what I mean? You knew in this.
I did watch a video of like the parallels between the game and like even when David puts his hand on the cage door.
That's perfect.
Right.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was like scene for scene.
Yeah, and the dialogue, everything was. I felt like what they did in the show almost just touched it up a little and just made it like a little more visceral. Like Ellie's reaction, holy shit! Like Bella Ramsey, this was a shining episode for her, especially at the end. Yeah. Oh my God, like just absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I mean, we said that a lot. Like Bella has done an incredible job with recreating Ellie, I think.
Well, and I mean,
when we watched it, when we watched the playthrough of the game, I was like, man, Ellie on the show is like more wild. Like she's more feral. You know what I mean? I feel like Ellie in the game is like, she's vicious, but she's like composed. Ellie in the show is just like a little animal. You know?
There is one line I wish that they didn't fuck around with, which is that like during that exact part where David says after she breaks his finger, David says, "Damn it, I'm trying to keep you alive here. What the hell do I tell them now?" She's like, "Tell them." And this is the same as now. Now it's line for line. Tell them, or she's like, "Ellie."
Yeah, Ellie.
He's like, "What?" Tell them that the girl that's the girl whose name broke your fucking finger or whatever, right? Like that line. That line's the same. But they took out the "I'm trying to keep you alive"
there was
here.
a better setup in the
just
the
like
game.
I'm like they kept one line, but like kind of took out the part where he's like asked a question that led to her just responding in like really badass way. Where you're just like, damn. But then he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill you now," and she's like, "Fuck, I maybe shouldn't have said that." And that's when Ellie kind of like goes like white. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get killed. I should stop being so sassy, or I'm about to die now, right?" He's like, "See you in the morning," and it's like, "Oh fuck." And I would just like to quickly shout out everyone who's a fan of the game. So David is played by Nolan North, the voice of Nathan Drake. David in the game, is voiced by Nathan Drake, basically, if we want to call him that. He's like 450 other fucking PS3, PS4 era characters. You can only really do one voice, I'm pretty sure, and it's his own until he does David, which he tried really hard not to do Nathan Drake, and he sounds like a South Park character. Yeah. It's fucking hilarious.
It's Preacher David.
Hey, come with me, kid. Hey, God, you won't last very long out here by yourself. You need a guy like me. He sounds no shit. Like if you bring up a video right now of David from the game and you listen, you will hear a South Park character, and it won't leave your head until he is dead.
No. As soon as you pointed it out, I was like, I can't unhear that. It's brutal.
The minute
that's just who he is.
I can't even hear Nathan Drake if I try. I just hear like Nolan North trying to do a South Park impression, and it fucking kills me. And it makes a character hard to take seriously. Whereas like this David, I felt was like really like stone cold or whatever. But I do want to talk about the dynamics of these two characters because they cut out something that I thought was fucking very, very important. And that was in the time that James leaves to go get the antibiotics after she gets the buck and they, argue over it or whatever, right? In the time that they go to, he goes to fuck off, they end up basically swarmed by infected.
Yeah.
They end up in like a fucking factory or like a shack bunch of series of shacks or whatever, some sort of industrial building.
Yeah, it's a sawmill, right? That's where they were in the episode.
The sawmill. That's what it was, exactly. Yeah. So then they end up having to fight alongside each other. There's a scene like Ellie, is like seeing them all running. Like there's clickers, there's tons of fucking guys. And I remember David like pulls up from his side, pulls out a pistol. Yeah. And she's got her gun out. She's just like, "You had a gun?" He's like, "You had another gun?"
You had a gun the whole time?
Right? And he was like, "Yeah, I do. Now trade me." Yeah. And she's like, "I don't think so." And he's like, "God damn it, I hope you know how to use that thing." She's like, "I've had some practice." Right? And I love that line, right? Because it's like it implies like a little bit of trust between the two characters.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to. It
lets your guard down.
Right? Yeah.
Well, it lets your guard down, right? Yeah. So then you're like, oh, okay. Like you get to a situation of like comfort with this character that at first you're like, I played this.
Yeah, I've been team up together, right? Like it's like a team building exercise.
Exactly. It's like
it's like corporate team building.
That's a fucking
taking out the
fuck
infection.
Trust falling. Fuck the trust fall. I need to throw you in a building surrounded by zombies and see if you two make it out. That's how you. Who's getting a raise? Whoever the fuck comes out of here alive.
Whoever comes out alive.
You both get a raise. One of you comes out, you're both fired.
I mean, you can't tell me that you wouldn't feel closer to somebody after going through something like that, right?
Well, and that's what happens, right?
And in the game, like you're doing it with this person, so you are,
he's slamming doors shut or whatever, right? He's like, "Oh, nice shot," right, or whatever the hell, right? And there's lots of like weird little team building moments, and even little like you push the triangle to talk. The little extra chatty bits. Sorry, I got a little cat hair on my nose here. The little extra chatty bits you have with the characters where they're optional dialogue moments. They have a few kind of with them, right? And it's just like, now this is like a teammate. You're fighting alongside them. And that gameplay kind of leads you to be like, okay, well, now we've got a new ally or whatever, and they've got medicine, and maybe this is kind of where the game's taken me or whatever, right?
In a brief little moment, like in regards to what you're describing in the game, is that the trust that's earned is because each person is helping each other survive, right?
Yeah.
Like you're pressed with mortal peril, and the two of you get out of it together. There's bonding that happens there, right?
And he had a gun the whole time.
Yeah.
So he could have just killed her or whatever the heck,
and he
right?
didn't. Yeah.
Dude, the way
okay.
in the episode though, like, so of course James returns.
They reveal it the exact same way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
scene is
insane.
exactly the same.
But
so that happens exactly after the infected rush. They stop, they build a fire,
okay,
and they sit down, and then he starts telling her that story.
So
you know,
yeah, when he starts telling her that story, right? Like Callie and I were both like we're cuddled up on the couch, and he starts telling the story, and like the minute he said, you know, we sent a party to this town to scavenge for certain things. One of them was murdered. And like the minute he said the one of them was murdered, like instantly I saw Joel snapping Buddy's neck and I was like, oh shit. Like I made the connection immediately. And like in that moment, like I felt my heart rate increase because immediately I was just like, oh shit, he wants to kill her. Like he knows like that the whole thing happened in my mind so fast. Yeah, he's like, had a little girl with him, and I was like, "Oh shit, oh shit."
Yeah. It's the same in the game. It's the exact same in the game. Only what they took away, I think, and by not having this big battle with the infected, which was like kind of one of the bigger encounters. Well, like you're fighting a fucking horde basically. What they kind of lost with that is that it just kind of came out of nowhere, and I still felt like it was in the show. I was just like, oh shit. Right, I was like, "Oh damn!" Right, like that definitely spooked me, or whatever the heck.
It's like after you bonded, you know, with this guy,
you're more vulnerable emotionally, as the character would be. So I feel like they should have done that, and they should have had that same conversation.
So in the game, was Ellie still training her gun on him while they were sitting there, right? Like super defensively, because in the show, you know, and actually, I want to point out one thing that I thought was very interesting. I don't know, I question whether or not this is worth bringing up. When she sat down and shot the deer, right? Like Ellie was like, there's a thing when it comes to like shooting accurately, like a proficient firearms user, like taking a breath out like that and pulling the trigger on that out breath, like it's discipline. And I remember just thinking like, man, like she was able to hit that deer, kill shot.
Yeah.
And like had some discipline with how she handled that firearm. But every other scene she was fucking carrying it around like it was a sack of potatoes. Like I was like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, she was just like kind of like
she was nervous, I think.
I imagine it was pretty heavy for her as well.
I was gonna say she's goofy tiny compared to that fucking rifle too, right? Like rifle's as tall as she is. So
legit, yeah.
And then also doing the gruff voice.
Oh, I laughed so hard when she her best Joel impression.
You're a tough guy, exactly, right? Right between the eyes.
I get it, right between the eyes.
Yeah, and that's from the game too.
So patronizing.
Yeah, exactly, right? Right between the eyes. I can't do a David impression without just summoning Nolan North anymore. And by Nolan North, I mean demented South Park. I get it, right between the eyes, right? Right between the eyes. I get it, yeah.
Can we take a moment too to just address the penicillin administering?
Oh my god!
Is anybody aware?
So much better.
Is anybody aware that you can administer a lethal dose of penicillin? Like,
thank you. You know what? We were talking about it, and we were like, the Ellie in the game looks like she has way more of a fucking idea what she was doing. She was withdrawn from like a bottle, looking at it. Squinting at the syringe that was a human size, because I'm looking.
This syringe was fucking huge.
I'm looking at the one that she's got. I'm like, that's like 200 mils.
I'll tell you this much though: it's a movie syringe, right? Number one, you know how like you remember taking a mechanical pencil and taking the lead
and
doing the not only does it have to do that, but also I noticed that like she plunged it in, and then she pushed, and all of the fluid disappears, right? So it has to go into an internal reservoir. It has to funnel up into a reservoir inside. So the syringe has to be thicker for that action to be able to happen.
Okay.
And because I pointed that out too. I was just like, man, that's a beefy syringe. And then as she plunged it in, I was just like, oh, okay, the fluid has to go somewhere. It's
Yeah, that
obviously
makes a
like,
lot-
But it was still so goofy.
It was goofy. It
Like,
was.
I was like, Matt.
I've never seen a syringe that huge that had a sharp on it. I've just never seen that. I was trying to think of like what situation.
The wound, like
yeah, those are the ones.
Is
usually,
this supposed to go in your blood? Is it supposed to go in muscle? What's going on
usually
here?
when the syringe is that big, it's like for putting like antibiotics or whatever in your dog's mouth. You know?
Yeah,
Or like,
yeah.
That's what it's for.
Or
You
like-
usually
like
or measuring a
food or
liquid to
something,
move
you know?
to another storage thing, and you know you need to measure it
Yep.
without for some reason a cup thing won't be enough. You need some suction.
Yeah.
It's like totally not for the purposes of medical use, but like there it is, I guess, right? Like
Yeah.
I just shot the whole thing.
but also,
That's
she
like
like
Did she do it one time or twice?
Twice.
In
she
the
did
show?
2 injections
Yes,
in the show. Yeah.
Okay.
The next morning.
So
as
I
well.
think in game they did it twice as well, right?
Yeah, but it was basically like.
It was funny because I called it when I said this. I'm like, just Joel will be miraculously better in no time, right? I'm like, if there's anything like the game, just you wait. Like next day, Joel's gonna be just fine.
He's
And
like, oh, I'm cured. I'm cured.
in game it's
Mega
worse.
doses of penicillin.
In game it's goofier, but
Yeah.
obviously it's a video game, so you like the suspension.
whatever,
The
right.
injury Joel sustains in the game is fucking. There's no shot he's alive after
Oh yeah, he
that.
gets impaled by a piece of rebar, correct?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just like stabbed through. He falls on
Yeah.
something and like fucking puts a hole through his whole body. Like he would be dead for sure. There's just no shot.
Yeah, that's an entrance
Although I-
and an exit wound that he was
Oh, yeah.
delivered.
He was full shot dead, no question. But he's miraculously recovered after like a dose or two of antibiotics.
Yeah.
And
Magic.
They also they did the scene with the horse running away or whatever the heck.
The horse that Ellie was trying to get away on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, the
is
horse
it
gets
is
shot.
Yeah, shot and like I mean Ellie
But
took
that's
Ellie took a tumble there. Holy.
We were talking in-game. Ellie got fucking
She would have
dunked
died.
on.
She would have just
In-game
died. She
Ellie-
hit her head like 15
The horse
times.
did like a flip. She goes like flying off a cliff,
Yeah, I was thinking
tumbling
a
down the
rocky
hill.
cliff.
Like, "Mom."
And then immediately
Yikes.
gets
She's like,
up.
oh
She's
shit!
like, oh, what
The
happened?
fucking horse is all dead. But then that leads us to like a segment, which was cut out
Yeah.
again, which is like, and this is what another thing I want to talk about. Ellie has never picked up a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Oh
with
yeah,
that?
yeah, because apparently
That is like her main weapon.
the bow and arrow is what she confronts David and James with in the game, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no
And there's
rifle.
a whole section where you have to kill like infected and people with it.
You're like
So-
selecting
Yeah, I
your
wonder why
arrows
that
after.
decision was made.
when those guys are looking for you also, so again, I feel like they're cutting out these gameplay moments that are not just gameplay mode. You know what I mean? Like they're still part of the game. That
They're like additive to the story.
that combat should be there. You know, that's action that was part of the game and part of the story by proxy of being part of the game, right? So
Yeah.
she kills a shitload of villagers before David gets a hold of her. You know, she kills a bunch of dudes that are just out there being goons. But I don't know if I don't want to justify it for them, but I can't think in my head as to why they would do it. Besides, like maybe the townsfolk are regular people; they wouldn't want to randomly kill some girl, or she wouldn't want to randomly kill that. But it's like that's kind of the point: is that Ellie kills a lot of random people to basically for Joel to save him. She kills a lot of these people, and she's not really a practiced killer in people. She's doing it hardcore here, and then Joel has to kill a shitload of people to get back to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like it's like this kind of moment that brings them back together is the fact that they've both just undergone intense violence and aggression to
Yeah, and in the
finally
game
meet back up.
you swap perspectives and play from the
Yes.
different roles to
Yeah,
get to
Joel
each
wakes
other.
back up and is like, "Where's the damn horse? Where's blah blah blah?" And then there's like a bunch of dickheads roaming around in the little town where Ellie rides her horse kind of around.
Yo,
And
so
then,
actually, I have a question. Like you said, you watched through the game again recently, like
Yeah.
a YouTube Let's Play. Did you?
You bet.
Did you?
PS3.
Did you just like punch through to the cutscenes or like the important parts, or like did you watch
well, I
the whole
watched
thing?
The Last of Us the movie.
Yeah, it's like
Oh.
already cut down.
Sick.
Yeah, already
okay.
kind of cut down. So So it was sort of just like
It's the-
taking
it's
out
the
unnecessary
bullet points.
gameplay.
Yeah, we should link that in the comments if we remember to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll link one that's not the one that I watched, because the one that I watched is fucking PS3.
Oh right, yeah.
Spunk.
It was so embarrassing that immediately after we finished, I was like, clicked any different video. I'm like, Christ, that looks so much better. Like, why did I just put hours into this other fucking thing? I was like, already there. I'm like, I knew this looked too bad. I'm like, I swear to God, this game looked good.
I swear to God, I remember it wasn't trash.
Well, right? And it's like, I don't know, a PS3 game. And I'm like, this looks like a high-res PS2 game. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking basically what it is. A PS3 game, dude. What do you fucking think? Yeah, so, I don't know why they cut that. I liked Ellie. She had her bow and arrow. She was nuking dudes. You know, I just don't get why they're taking these sections out. The battle versus the infected. Yeah. Ellie killing these cult villagers that are like cannibals or whatever.
And the part that I'm the most mad about, that one, like literally like a 2-second scene of Joel getting into town and seeing the restaurant on fire and being like, well, shit.
Well, he's killed his way. He's killed his way through a bunch of people. Right, he stabs. This is post-interrogation.
Knows.
He like opens this like gate thing or whatever, and like looks around. And there's just smoke billowing in the air, and the restaurant's on fucking. It's a blaze.
It's just
from the outside, and he's like,
"That's where she is."
And that's it.
That's Ellie's work.
It literally goes from Ellie's perspective, cuts away. This is during her battle with David. Shows Joel going, fuck. Looking at this burning building, and then goes right back. Yeah. And they took that out, and I just don't get why. Because that seems.
I feel like it's such a testament to who like their relationship and. Like just like who she is.
Yeah, where's she at in this damn fucking blizzard?
The gremlin.
The fire. I bet
the fire.
Yeah, the burning building. That's it.
Yeah, that's my girl.
Yeah,
that's my girl.
Yeah. So I don't know, but dude, that interrogation scene was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
oh my God, yeah. Can we talk about that? Holy
man, like I gotta say it. I gotta say it for the gamers out there who watch this. I gotta say it. The game did it better. The game just did it better. Joel in the game is more menacing. It just is.
Yeah, so I did see the parallel between like that last moment, because you know I watched a YouTube comparison after I watched the episode.
With the pipe, like with
the
last
pipe.
Second. Dude, Troy Baker as Joel delivered it like fucking flawlessly. Oh no, I believed him.
Yeah, oh no, I believed him.
Just like the 1 second of his fucking head getting caved in, you're like, holy fuck.
I will say, watching through the episode and like that being sort of my first impression of that scene, like I was physically like screaming and like shouting and being like, oh my God, like it was that scene was pulling me in. Oh
when
yeah,
he put it right on his knee. I was like, his knee.
I know. Well,
I looked away. I went.
He follows that up with saying like he's got it, and you can see how it's like perpendicular to the kneecap. And like you can imagine when he says, "I'll fucking pop your kneecap off," and like just the thought, like I know that a lot of people can't handle that level of gore with shows. There was a streamer that I was watching when I was waiting for you guys to get on, and like they were talking about like just like I can't. There's a couple things that happened in the series, and I'm out. Like there's a certain gore, like, and they're probably glad they didn't. I didn't think
it was that gory. I think it was just very visceral.
Yeah, but like this was one of the worst moments, right? Because it was like it was like, man, somebody that number one, you're feeling like how viscerally fucking dead inside Joel is to be able to do that to somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Like looking him right in the eyes and just like driving that knife into his knee and then just being like, give me what I want, or I'm like, it just, you can only imagine. For some reason, like what my mind was doing was just like, holy shit, someone's got to be so far off the deep end to be able to do that to somebody.
Well, in the show, this is the first time you really see Joel in this fucking
you finally get it.
Worked on humanizing him in the series.
It opens with him being this fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
It goes like the opening of the game, then it goes like Robert or whatever, and where they're just like they kill him anyways. They break his fucking arms.
Right? Yeah,
kill him anyways.
Yeah, because in the series, they stumble upon Robert already being killed. Whereas
exactly. So they kind of skip over, Joel being a savage fucking beast.
Yeah. In the game, Tess and Joel, interrogate Robert, and then get the information, and then they fucking kill him anyway.
They kill him anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
They like break his arm and and then they just end up shooting him in the face or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this last episode about how like, man, like are the invested people like kind of pissed that Joel is a little bit softer version of Joel in the series, but this episode quickly routed that shit back in the right direction.
Like, just kidding. Like, don't forget who he is.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I just wish they had kind of done this earlier because it juxtaposes better when you see him being this fucking hard and this dramatic to then,
having the panic attacks.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. That would be nice. All of that's there's a perfect balance between these things. They're not quite perfectly balancing it. I think they're cutting the fat a little too hard. You know what I mean? They're cutting the fat and losing some flavor. You know, there's a balance you want to keep.
Why did we lose an episode?
That.
This series started as 10. I don't know why we lost an episode.
I genuinely don't know.
Should have been 10.
I'm already nervous, like we said. I'm already nervous about the last episode because there's a fucking lot to cover.
How are they getting I don't know how they're going to get it all in there.
I guess you just remove the whole fucking scene where he almost drowns, which we don't need to spoil anything or whatever, but there's a kind of a cool thing that leads up to the
But that's
final
okay.
scene, right?
You know what? Let's not hypothesize on that.
Yeah.
We'll touch on that later. But
it's so hard to dance around when you know.
Yeah.
We're getting real close to the fucking curtains on this one, so
the game's been out for 10 years, man. Right? Like it's.
But the show hasn't, and tons of people don't. Of people don't fucking game, you know, they just haven't played this one. So
I personally am one of those people who are like, I'm finding out a lot of the elements of the story because I mean, like when you were playing the first game on stream, I wasn't there for every hour. I wasn't there for every single piece. I watched a decent chunk of it, but I missed. I missed all of Sam and Henry, right? So like my first impression of Sam and Henry was the series, and I thought that was really cool. And like, man, did they kill that whole part? Like it was just
they did a good job,
incredible. And this, like I will say, David, I only ever saw I think when you were in the Steakhouse with David, like the last fight, when you played that portion, and I did not have the emotional setup to appreciate what was happening there. I remember seeing Ellie hack his face to bits with a butcher knife and just being like, wow, she seems quite mad.
She did so good.
Oh, yeah, dude. That scene was incredible.
It was very well paralleled. I think it was better done in the show because she goes for longer.
Yeah, she doesn't get stopped by Joel.
Well, I do like that Joel stops her in the game. I like that because that's such a touching moment, and that also lends to when she's just like, just like, come to sweet.
But I don't know.
Her baby girl,
right?
I don't know if you caught probably my favorite moment, or the moment that hit me, like the whole freight train thing that's been happening in this series. The moment that hit me hard was when she's out just in shock and trauma. Like you can tell she's just her brain is fucked at that point when she's walking out in the snow. And then Joel bumps into her, right? And she's, for a second there, wants to kill him and realizes that it's her. But Joel ends up like pulling her in and says, like, you're safe. And he says, baby girl.
Baby girl. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we noticed.
The minute he said that, I was just like, oh, God, because that's what he calls Sarah.
He says it in game 2. He says in game 2. And that's what he said to Sarah when she died.
Right, but like that really, that felt like the moment that like the whole journey up until that point, like that was the vulnerability of like, you know, the fact that he'd almost died and then they were separated. And then when they find each other was the perfect storm of just accepting the fact that what's suggested to be happening of like Ellie and Joel bonding and, you know, the reason why Joel is bonding with Ellie because he reminds her of his daughter, and the reason why like the whole thing is like it's just stamped and shipped in that one line.
And David's whole mantra of being like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of whole sort of thing. Yeah. That's from both the game and the show. They kept that. I think that's because it's like thematic to sort of what was happening. I wish that they did sort of the killing their way back to each other, which I guess they sort of did still. They did that. They did. Joel killed a couple guys. Ellie didn't
kill nearly enough.
Ellie didn't kill enough people. I agree. But it is unrealistic to expect some 14-year-old or whatever the hell who's 5'1" to
fucking 10 guys.
Yeah, I wonder what the Call of Duty fucking scoreboard would look like between Ellie and Joel right now. It's like Joel's out here is like, I'm just fresh off a triple kill. Where are you at?
Yeah. Well, if we're looking at the scoreboard of the show, I mean, I think it's like 2 to like 42.
Yeah.
And that's just like what we've seen in this match. Not their total. Their total KD is Joel is infinity, at least. Ellie might have already technically died.
Yeah.
I think getting bit by an infected counts as a death, whether you die or not. So. Man. Joel's got a million kills to none, to no deaths. So. Yeah, and I really love her monologue too, or whatever. That they kept it all kind of where she bites the strat to get away from David.
Oh yeah, that was so intelligent.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. She sinks the bite in on David there just to make him freak the fuck out.
Yeah, and then James, that's what do you mean? What looks exactly like that, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
What's that mean, David?
Oh, dude,
that looks pretty fucking real to me. That's quote for quote that one. And then her brilliant move, the grab and fucking whack. James just
right in the fucking throat, like
insta killed.
Yeah,
I was like, Joel 1 just got nuked.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was one tap, clean one tap.
Yeah.
Like,
Troy Baker just dropped like
there was no hesitation. She was like, "This is it."
And I love
what I gotta do.
Yeah, that made me jump out of my seat too. Like this episode 8 was phenomenal because it tugged at my heart. Like I'll say, it took me until close to the end of the episode to realize I was like there was one moment where I was like, wait a minute, that meat that he was handing to the girl to put in the pot was the girl's father.
Yes.
Because that's why he was like, it's too cold to bury, right? And I put that together right at the end, and then I was like, oh my God, they fed the dude to his family. Like the wife and child were eating. Yeah.
Too. You can see when they're all eating. You could see who knew because they were biting really slow.
Yeah. James took a very slow bite.
There's a few people who, like, it was the cook, I think, as well, who was just like,
there was,
really slowly eating it.
It felt like there was a lot of discoverability layers. Like there was moments where I felt, I'm like internally when it makes you feel smart for like piecing stuff together, or like when it in the sawmill when I instantly like picked up on what David was saying, and then like it took me until the end of the episode to like piece together the cannibal thing from the start. Like that to me at the end, I was like, wow, like magnificent writing, magnificent because the way that it was written was so that it unfolded in pieces and it had time to unfold in the right moment or whatever, right? And like by the end of the episode, you're talking about everything that happened.
You're reflecting.
Yeah,
right?
you're going back and you're like, oh my God,
like wait a minute, this and then this.
You had the chance to know they were cannibals like ahead of time. Yeah. Whereas in game they didn't really give you that. They did. I don't think they threw you a bone on that information because there is no scene of David prior to meeting him via the buck. Right, there is no preacher scene. There's no whatever.
And in the scene, in the game where she's like in the cage, like in the show, she like it takes her a while and she notices the ear on the ground.
Yeah.
But in the game, it's like the first thing that she
chopping
sees
up
when
a body.
It's just like, there's a bunch of fucking dead body in the room with her, and she's just, and then she still ate the food. Also, she ate a couple bites of the food before throwing it back.
He's like, nope, just venison, I promise.
Yeah.
Or sorry, just venison, I promise.
Yeah. But she didn't eat it at all in the show. Like there was no.
Yeah, she ate like a couple bites and then she was like, kicked it back at him.
Yeah. Shit.
But I mean, I guess I get that at the same time, right? Like she's not fucking people, right?
Yeah.
She's like, no, not this time. Right?
That whole room with the cage, like. I built that entire room that the cage was in, and we helped build the cage and a bunch of that stuff. And like that room was supposed to be directly connected to the Steakhouse set as well, right? It's supposed to be like the rooms directly off the back of the kitchen. But I don't think I ever saw them like walk through that door. But dude, the Steakhouse set, that was a wild set. I remember when I was doing night shifts on the Sniper House, That was in the dirt lot out next to Calgary Film Center. And so it's like 3 a.m. or whatever, and we're working, and like when you had to go to the bathroom, it was like, all right, I'm going to the film center, I'm going into the building, the main buildings, and going to the bathroom. And every time I did, I would walk through stage 3 or whatever and walk through the Steakhouse and like go check it out, because we worked on that Steakhouse a lot. All of the booths, like the half oval shaped rounded booths, we built all of those from scratch. And one of them
looks remarkable.
Oh yeah.
Like, it looks like when I mentally first like saw it in the show, I was like, I know exactly what fucking room this is. I know what takes place here.
Oh yeah,
you got really excited. You're like, oh yeah, the restaurant.
That particular set was very accurate to the one in the game, like mostly very accurate. But all of those booths, one of the cool things about it was that we had to build one of them and have it upholstered and like get it all ready, like dressed up to look real. And then we shipped that one to the special effects team, and they reproduced one of those half oval booths out of all steel and Kevlar. And then like, cause the one in the corner where when Ellie throws the torch and it lights on fire, that's where the fire starts. And that entire booth in the corner was made out of all like steel and Kevlar, so that, and it had gas lines and like fire outlets or like gas outlets piped into the seat. And like there was the whole set. We had to build all of the rafters and the trusses out of dense glass and aluminum and like steel stud framing. Of course. And it was so cool because like half of the set was built so that you could literally just be like, okay, we're rolling, turn the fire on, and the fire would all just come on. And like they would shoot the scenes, and then they'd be like, okay, cut, and then they would turn all the fire off. And they only had a certain amount of time before like everything just got blackened, right? So you kind of
say, carbon monoxide kills everyone.
But it was kind of cool how they set it up. Yeah, it was.
Still, though, I think you can only run a fucking super fire for so long, right?
Yeah, that set was wild. I mean, like the whole, there was like a little wine, or there's a cabinet in between the back, like the kitchen and the restaurant, where there was like where people would pass through the food, the like cooked food, they'd pass it through to the restaurant side, and then there was like a wine unit above, like a big cross wine unit. Like I built that whole cabinet. That was like a week that I spent on that. It's fun because like that's what I do outside of the film industry, is I build stuff like that. So when that
carpentry,
that was one of those moments where it was like, you know, we were looking over the plans and I was just like, hey, can I take that? Like that's kind of my jam. Like I'll do that stuff. And I think that was.
Don't need any cabinets.
So it was really, it was so cool seeing that on film. And you know what's stupid is that like the pictures that I took on set of the Steakhouse are all shit, because every time I went in there, the lights were off, so I didn't get any good pictures. And I didn't want to like throw all the lights on in the middle of the night to like get these pictures of that set. But
what are you doing in there? Pissing?
I'm pissing.
Same thing I always do.
This is where I pee.
Exactly, right?
But
my special pee spot.
That whole Steakhouse set, man, like the barbecue that's in the kitchen, and like everything was authentic. Like it was built so overkill. Man,
I mean, it's an important fucking part of the game.
Even
spent a lot of time there.
The fireplaces, you see like the stone fireplaces that are inside the restaurant side. That's all like real stone. Like that was not styrofoam.
Not foam.
No, those.
I think there's probably a good reason for that.
Fire.
Yeah, actually, that's right. It would have to have been real stone.
It would have fucking melted.
Yeah,
it would have at least warped by the heat. Yeah,
something extra VFX or whatever. It might just be cheaper to put rocks together.
Yep.
I guess I don't know. Like maybe. I'm thinking in my head what reason they would have not to just burn it down.
To burn the whole well, I mean,
we're done with it. Not to just show it a building in a town ablaze. You know what I mean? Why they didn't just do that Joel 2-second shot and just burn some fucking shitty facade building down.
They could have even done that CG.
Yeah,
with how fast of the scene that would have been.
I just don't understand why they cut that, because that scene just really, really sells it.
God, I hope this isn't one of those things that I'm talking about that's actually just in the next episode. There's only one episode left. What's the chances that it is? There was one time that we had to build a miniature version of one of the houses, and it was all out of like the entire frame of the house we built out of sheets of dense glass, and we like fire caulked the whole thing, and then the paint department spray painted it all flat black. and then they put fire inside of it so that the fire could like billow out the windows and stuff. And it was basically so
that would be the scene.
That's the scene.
That's the scene.
Yeah.
There's not the rest of the series doesn't.
There's no fire
there
that
would have been
happens.
no point.
Again,
So we
there's
built-
no fire that
They
happens.
took the scene out.
Yeah, we built this mock house so that they could get the flames jutting out and so that they could superimpose that on the real building. So that the flames were fake, right, coming out of this miniature.
So that would have been probably just for that one single shot of Joel over the shoulder where he's like looking afar at this building
And
and
seeing
being
the
like,
building just got it, yeah.
this is where I'm going. Yeah. And it's literally like 2 seconds. As I was like, man, why? Like we were both saying, why didn't they just add that? Like that adds so much. And then just taking it out takes away so much.
So yeah,
It
it's
just seems
probably
like
filmed.
maybe it was just shit.
Just cut,
It was just shitty. Maybe it just sucked.
A few reasons it could have.
Sometimes you do film things and they just don't turn out that well. So maybe that's just one of those situations
Or
where
it was like a time constraint thing, and
yeah,
maybe
I guess.
they were
what do we
like-
need this 2-second scene for? Yeah.
Maybe they were like, wow, the carpenter's really fucked up on this model. It doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
all
guys.
your fault. Connor, all your fault.
And yeah, you got me thinking like fucking Titanic now, how they did all that in the fucking little bathtub or whatever the hell, and then the giant super fake one, that's the super real one that they destroyed, and then the little tiny one they made. And
Right.
Like 20 different versions of the Titanic they burned and broke, and that shit's a practical effects legend. If you ever want to like read up on some movie magic shit, that movie alone was like probably one of the most impressive practical effects movies of all time, just due to the nature of how many fucking versions of the thing they had to build just to shoot it. Luckily, we have CG now, so we can save ourselves building, 19 of those miniatures and just do the one apparently, and then never show it.
Or the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
Oh, well, the T-Rex that's animatronics. That's some other shit, dog. I miss animatronics, dude. The only animatronics you get nowadays is like Five Nights at Freddy's, dude. Or like some weird fucking Nick Cage movie. It's a parody of that shit.
Yeah.
You just don't get them anymore.
Super goofy.
You gotta go to Chuck E. Cheese and feel like haunted for life to see animatronics.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then even David says one line I really liked, where he says, "You're not infected, Ellie." Goddamn South Park. People who are infected don't fight this hard to stay alive.
Yeah. No, that's good call on his part. The thing that I was really disappointed about was that the butcher knife didn't shine really brightly.
Oh, yes, thank you for bringing that back up. Thank you. Because the moment when she's looking kind of like under the round tables that you're talking about, right? So the round
when she's
table, that's where
creeping
she
towards
found
it.
In the PS3 version specifically.
Yeah, I don't know if this was in actually.
It wasn't.
It wasn't?
No.
Well, good, because it's so stupid.
It's so funny.
It's so fucking stupid. I burst out laughing because it shows like
such a
it
serious
transitions from cutscene of like you just slash David because David has to be. It's a boss fight. It's a video game.
Yeah.
You slash him 3 times. You're crawling around and you've got to avoid stepping on glass. And if you step on glass, he runs at you like a fucking wild pig. And so you kind of have to sneak around and distract him, and then you slash him, and you get the 3rd time, then you basically, I don't know how this guy's still alive, but again, video game logic, he just like sumo flips you or whatever, and then you both get knocked out. So Ellie's knocked out, David's knocked out, and then it just shows Joel burning building. He's like, oh, fuck.
Watching the building. Oh my god.
Yes.
Well, actually,
Yeah, and it's like,
there's something that I want to bring up because I remember both Callie and I said this after the episode ended. We were like, so, David gets real grapey, right?
yes.
Is it not a bad time to think about doing that while the building's burning down around you?
He said he likes it when they fight. I don't know if he said that in the show.
Did he say it in the show or was it in the game?
I think he just said it in the game.
I don't think they have time.
I think the pressure of the situation is what is most exciting.
One of the two of them, he says specifically, "Don't you know by now?" He's like, "It's the fight I like the most."
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like, so he's
oh.
willing, like, if in that scene, what I'm getting from that is that he's like, moving in to make something happen. But it's like,
Yes.
dude, you got
It is very
you
clearly
have
the bad time.
180 seconds before you're both dead. Like, it's
or
not
the whole
the
building
time.
collapses.
Yeah.
So from carbon
I know you're both laying
dioxide or-
down. You're doing your best to avoid the smoke burning you and the carbon monoxide, you name it. But yeah, for sure, it is a bad time. And in the game, it's even worse because the fucking whole place is ablaze. Like it's not even just the corner.
Passed out for like a couple minutes.
Enough time that the outside of the house was. The outside of the Steakhouse is just a blazing fire. It's hilarious, right? And and then you come to as Ellie, and it transitions from like cutscene to cutscene gameplay, whatever you want to call it, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to kind of crawl as Ellie towards, but. I wonder, and when I saw it, I was like, were playtesters fucking stupid? Like, were they not able to tell that this cutscene had ended and that now it's like a gameplay portion? So they just like sat there forever.
Just sitting there
for 5 minutes. She's sitting there for a long time, man. So
do something.
So like in order to motivate them, they made the fucking machete underneath the table like just glow.
Like it had like flash, like
the
flashing.
flash, like the Resident Evil like random little quick flash that pulsates over it, the little gradient that shines over it, and it every like 3 seconds it does that, and it's like if it did that one time, indicating something. Okay, here's your attention. Oh, okay, and then crawl towards it. Oh, I get it now, right? It just does it the whole time while you're slowly crawling towards it. And then he's like grabs her and he's got her and he's flipping her over. It's still shining in the background. And it's just like, dude, are you
just serious scene? It just totally is like it breaks the immersion, right? It's hilarious.
Yeah, there's about to be what appears to be a grapeseed oil type scene, and it's just a shiny machete in the background, like it's fucking as plain as day. And it's you're like, I wonder what's gonna happen with that.
This was in the PS3 version.
Yeah.
I wonder if they addressed that later. Yeah,
they did. The one we watched, because we specifically rewatched that part, the whole David part in the PS5, and clicked through it, and I was like, oh. Yeah.
Yeah, they like took it away.
I bet you the developers like they shipped the game, right? And then later on they were just like,
of course.
Oh my god, we fucking missed that. Oh no.
There could have been, they could have done it like differently, like a prompt at the, move, get the knife or.
I bet you the PS4 edition doesn't even have that. Yeah. I bet you the first chance they got to remake that game, that was changed. Because I guarantee you half the team was like, don't ship it like this, man.
Oh, God,
don't ship that, please. And they're like, no, dude, we did some play testing with 5-year-olds and they couldn't figure it out, so.
You know what's funny is probably it's the dude who's in charge of that stuff. He probably like went home that day and he was like, whatever, I'll deal with that like tomorrow or Friday. And then he goes into work the next day and they're like, yeah, we shipped it. And he's like, I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah, right.
This is fine.
Well, I feel the way it is, it has to be done intentionally because it's like a cutscene gameplay thing, I guess the machete is an item you do pick up in game though sometimes. So I guess that is fair to say that maybe all machete instances in that game.
Oh, they they added the wrong asset to the scene, like. Oh.
Or something, right? Like they just straight put that asset there, and then they were like, okay, yeah, and
that
then
works.
Right?
Yeah.
But actually, because if I think about it, there's no other like cutscene gameplay moment in that game that I remember seeing where that shit happened. So that is probably an instance of like a total developer error, or if it's not
laziness,
then it was definitely just the point of like a person not knowing when a cutscene was over, and then like having their controller put down and being like, I wonder when I get to play again. Sure is just laying there.
To be fair, it is a pretty dark scene. It could have been like the settings on everybody's screen.
Yeah, true.
They didn't have the brightness.
Even in the show, it was like you darkly lit underneath the table.
But I mean, they made it pretty obvious that is where the knife is. Like you see it go under the table. Yeah. It's not like it's there, surprise.
Well, that's the benefit of having like a non-fixed camera, which like the Last of Us does have. The game. It has a very fixed camera of a perspective, a third-person perspective of a character, then cutscenes that you're not playing. But when it goes back to that third-person perspective, you are playing again, right? So it doesn't really, it wouldn't have done like a cheesy camera cutscene zoom into the fucking, underneath the table, there's a machete, boom, gameplay. because that would have just been so goofy for the way they've organized the game,
but
right?
I just feel like that part
jarring.
where she's like crawling, it's probably one of those fixed camera scenes.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean?
It is, yeah.
So you can see where you're going.
Yeah.
Like
well, honestly, anyone who's not a moron would just push direction.
Would just go forward.
You would think. At this point in the game, you've done this enough fucking times. Joel's had been impaled and you had to walk forward. You know, there's been enough time where you're doing the playable cutscene thing that you'd think that they would just know that. So I don't know, but that just bothers the shit out of me. So it really was worth mentioning.
It's so funny though.
I guess that's why I'm glad we watched the PS3 version and actually seeing the PS5 version afterwards
looks
was like
so good.
Shocking.
Beautiful.
Their faces are like unbelievably beautiful. Their expressions are beautiful. Like the cutscenes always look pretty nice. Like honestly, still the faces in the PS3 version were like the expressions were all there. You know what I mean? That was like this is groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah, for at the time, yeah.
For like, I mean, what's that? 15 years ago or some shit now? Like Christ. 10?
Jeez, I was gonna say
must be over 10, right?
I'm gonna pull it up, but not screw up the webcam here.
That's okay.
Let's go.
It's okay.
Imagine
Tanner just pulls up straight up. It's just deep fake. Deep fake P word. We're like the Atriox.
Deep fake P word.
You gotta be careful what words you say.
It's 2013, so it's 10 years ago.
2013, 10 years ago. Okay,
yeah.
15 was overshot, but yeah, 10 years ago. So tail end of PS3. Their faces look amazing, and the expressions are kind of everything. So really, like the expressions and the acting in this show are exceptionally important, I think. Right, just simple. And of course, they've got that in spades with shows they've had prior. You know, Game of Thrones and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of subtleties in the acting, so you need really high quality actors. But I'm one of the best moments and just like emotions and whatnot being like conveyed through a character's faces in this episode, I think belongs to, like you said, like Troy Baker.
Yeah, definitely.
Like at the beginning when he was like talking to the father David or whatever, and he's like, I fear you've lost your faith in me or whatever the hell, long-winded way of saying that.
There was doubt in that room, right? When he said
he was exactly right, and he's like, some of the others, they don't. And he's like, I'm not talking about them, right? And there's like tears welling up in his eyes, and he's like, his cheeks are kind of sunken in. He's kind of like holding back his whole thoughts and everything he wants to say and whatnot, and there's so much carried in his face.
Ooh, one of my favorite parts though was like when James is trying to advocate for like, why are we trying to leave Ellie alive? Like, we should kill her, right? And David is like pushing back on that, and then James pipes in with like something, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said, maybe this is what God wanted or whatever, right? Like he's taking some sort of initiative as to speak to what God may want or not, and how, like the absolute, like David turning around being like, you don't fucking tell me what God says, I tell you what God says. Like I remember and like James instantly is just like, and like breaks eye contact.
Even as he said it, he was kind of just like, oh. Fuck.
Yeah, and I said to Steve at that scene, because it was right after he had backhanded that girl.
Yep. That was wild.
Yeah,
that hand was wild. That is the hand of God.
The way he looked at him, I was like, oh man, you're gonna get backhanded next, dude. Like, shut up.
Yeah, right. I was waiting for him to turn around.
Yeah, and he turns around and just mad dogs him and doesn't say a word and then just keeps going.
His eyes were like, if you fucking say something else, I'm gonna.
100%. If James was a 14-year-old girl, he'd be knocked out by the back of that man's hand. If James wasn't a younger, sprightlier, more, manly character, then David would have put him down right then and there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that, and you know what? It's an interesting thought, actually, when we kind of think about this, knowing sort of what we do from the games and maybe sort of David's past and also the character, that 14-year-old-ish girl who lost her father, and the weird dynamic that makes the whole room uncomfortable. It's very clear. Mm-hmm. They're all kind of like, you acted weird. You have a father, blah, blah, blah. And they're all just like, don't think about it. Just he's doing fine, right? Maybe Troy Baker's character James in that moment also, when he wants to kill Ellie, is like, it could be a mercy thing, or just leaving her alone could be a mercy thing. because he doesn't want David doing any fucking weird
interesting.
shit.
Yeah, because he knows what's up.
That harkens back to the David's pet thing, right?
Well, exactly, right? That's just why I kind of wonder why they took that out, because if you knew that, that could have also been more of
some context.
redeeming.
Yeah, it would have made James seem a little bit more like empathetic, I think.
Which I feel like they were kind of going for off the bat. And that kind of just lost its momentum a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then it would have made her just murking him, kind of like, he was okay. You know, he's kind of not the, all right, you know what I mean? Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, all things at a cost, I guess, right? So it's interesting, I guess.
He was pretty quick to try and kill her, though.
He was, but at the same time.
But I guess he's following David's word on that, right?
Yeah. He was about to do it, and then David shoots up in the air to distract them, right?
Well, I think you mean though, like.
No, I mean in the end scene when they're gonna eat her.
But that was David who was gonna kill her. He had the knife or whatever.
But
right?
James was right there.
James didn't really have a choice.
Right in the cage.
And that's the way that they've arranged that sort of cult or whatever. James doesn't really have a choice. Does he want to be the next guy that they're hunting?
Yeah, that's kind of the deal with cults, right?
Right.
You're making people act outside of their ethics and character.
And when you went, what the fuck is there? Or you know, you know the quote. God damn it. Where he bites him or whatever, where she bites him, and he says, "Fucking looks real to me."
It's real to me, yeah.
It looks, and immediately he's kind of like,
in the
fuck
game, it
this
looks
guy.
even more fucked up. Like it looks kind of healed in the show, but in the game, it's like there's like pustules.
Yeah, Ellie's arm.
It's
and
pretty
it's got
gnarly
discoloration to it.
Yeah,
it's way worse. Yeah,
in the show, it looks kind of like just like a scar. Like it looks healed.
Yeah, you could believe that it was healed. Versus in the game, you're like, oh god damn.
You're like, oh, you should get that checked out.
Yeah, exactly.
That weird burn.
It's like the Parasite anime. It's like pops out and starts talking to you.
Calm down.
Such a good show.
We're friends now. Yeah, I don't know, and it's just it all leads to a concerto, a bombastic finale, which is 45 fucking minutes, man. I just can't shake that.
Let's talk about our you want to do a rating? You want to do some ratings on 7 and 8?
Yeah.
Because we're leading into the finale. It's crazy to think this is almost over. Man.
I know.
For now.
Yeah.
For
now.
But so 7, I remember watching 7 and being like the impact was all right, like rear loaded. Like the end of the episode had a lot of impact. The rest was all just, it was important and it was needed, but it was kind of cruise control, you know?
They kind of have a pattern of that every second episode.
Just gives you a break.
Is chilling and whatever, and you know, learning more about characters, whatever, and then horrific things.
I remember like years ago, I watched the Left Behind DLC on YouTube, and I feel like it was really game accurate, and I do think it was an important like component to the dynamic between like the developing dynamic between Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And giving some context around that, but I think in terms of like action and like current addition to the like story, like in present time in the show, it was all right. It was pretty good.
It kind of felt strangely out of place.
It did, like timing wise. Yeah.
It kind of landed strange.
It was a really big flashback.
Yes.
Basically.
And I kind of wish that they flashed
it was like an episode of flashback.
I kind of wish they did a little more like flash between type stuff.
Oh yeah, like they could have formatted it where they had like the entirety of episode 7 could have been split into 4 pieces that were like interlaced briefly in other episodes.
Yeah, like her taking care of Joel and then remembering stuff, taking care of Joel. And I think that could have also been additive to like Ellie learning how to navigate things solo.
Yeah.
Right? Like going hunting and
trying
to like take care of herself and Joel and stay
showing
safe.
Where she learned some of these skills.
Maybe add some infected in there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So HBO, like 45 minutes is crap. Like, come on, like your audience wants 90-minute episods. All of them. I don't know anybody that doesn't want a 90-minute
finale, please.
Just go hard. Go hard. Give us long format every episode. Don't trim the fat. I feel like the
Well,
fat.
because the one with Bill and Frank, wasn't it? Like, that was, like, really long.
The director's cut.
That was an hour and a half.
The director's cut of that episode was over 2 hours. Like, the initial cut.
Then what's going on here?
And they cut it back.
That was not longer than the end of the game.
That doesn't make sense. And they could absolutely make that, like, an hour and a half easy. Like, the end of the game, easy. Like, the remainder from where we ended and then, you know, to the end, like, I just don't know. Like, it's gonna take away from the, like, how.
Well, and not only that, but I've heard.
I literally. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I've heard that the one remaining episode is gonna piss people off. It's like the articles that I'm seeing are like, this is the biggest detachment from the story, and
Wow.
I don't know.
But that's the
we
whole-
haven't seen it yet.
Are you
but
fucked?
are you
That's
fucked?
like the whole,
Are you fucked?
this part, like the ending, like we're not gonna get into it, but like that is the whole.
That is the point.
It's the seed for.
It's the goddamn theme
two.
of the game. It's the entire theme. It's everything. It's the meaning. It defines the entire rest of us.
Also, like exactly. It's
Oh
the,
my
seed
the rest of
God.
us.
Second part.
It's the rest of us, bro. It really is. It's the. Oh my God.
All right. Well, okay. Let's not get too far into
Steve is
hypothesizing.
fuming.
We didn't numerically.
I already did this yesterday or the day before when I watched. When I watched the episode, I was like standing there. I'm like, I don't know how are they going to do this? I'm like, they can't do this. They're not going to be able to do it in 45. They're not going to be able to pull this off in like a meaningful way. They're going to have to cut too much. It's going to be no combat, or it's going to be like it's just going to be like so trimmed in terms of the story, or they're going to shoot through it because there's like the moments, the aftermath, the everything, or I have thought in my head. There is like a weird third option, which is like if they somehow cut the end of this game to make it the start of the next season.
Yo, you know what I thought was like a funny thought was, what if on Sunday they go roll episode 9 of The Last of Us, and it's just the last episode of the 8th season of Game of Thrones?
No. It opens up.
Yeah, just so that HBO is doubling down and hitting them. Yeah, just rickroll.
You guys can go fuck yourselves. Everybody suck my balls. Gonna give you Game of Thrones without you.
Exactly.
It's just like it's just
never gonna give you an ending.
with Game of Thrones like silently playing in the background.
It's just got like a JPEG of Joel's face, like loosely fucking edited over top of Rick Astley.
Yeah, no, that or Joel and Ellie get into like the hospital situation, and then somebody just rolls in Bran on a wheelchair, and it's like he's the new king. Like,
who has been through more than Bran the Broken, or who is more worthy than Bran the Broken? It's like literally every character on this show. I hate Bran. Break his legs.
let's hope it's better than that.
I'm putting my faith in them, but I just don't understand.
I think you like what you said, where it's like they go up until the point in which it kind of is like the way that they wrap up the end of the game. Like they just do like the kind of pre part of that and like kind of leave it on a happier note.
Yeah, and then they start season
the next
2
season with the way that they actually ended part 1.
That's what I'm thinking, and that's why maybe it's 45 minutes.
Yeah, they could fit that into 45 minutes, and then if they do that, I really do hope that they revisit how Riley dies.
Yeah.
So see, there is a way they can do this, and maybe that's where they say the biggest deviation. It's gonna piss people off. Is maybe we don't get
until
the ending.
the actual ending,
because the events of the ending are the cataclysm that sets off.
Interesting. So like you're implying that they get the news but don't deal with the news until the beginning of season 2?
Perhaps they simply make their way to the hospital. It's like a more touching episode where they're bonding, and you get they get to know each other. They talk a lot more.
Yeah.
He talks about Sarah to her, and they get up to maybe the place where they finally find like the fireflies or whatever, and then.
And then they
so
that's a way that they could do
without spoiling anything. I do know a little bit about how this ends.
No.
Fuck.
No,
So,
don't do it.
I'm
Don't
not
do
gonna-
it. Don't do
yeah.
it.
Shit.
I want to be disappointed IRL.
It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be so bad. No. Oh, it's gonna be honestly, viewing audience, like those of you who just watched the show, maybe it'll be fine for you. It'll probably be cool and probably surprising and interesting. But the gamers just stand down. Just be ready.
Tune in next week for Steven's massive disappointment, and that's our show. Thanks for coming.
Breakdown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So episode 7 rating. We never really gave it ratings. I'm gonna give it episode 7's like a 7.5.
Yeah.
It was good. It was there. It was meaningful, but it was just an episode. It didn't really like shock me in any way. And like once time had passed and I had already seen episode 8, it was like hard for me to think like, oh well, let's make a podcast for just 7, and then let's do one about 8, because I won't be able to not talk about what happened in 8.
Yeah,
you know what
8
I mean?
was a lot more impactful.
Gravity is pulling me there, so I'm gonna give it like a 7.5. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll give 7. I think I'm gonna give 7 a 7.
Okay, very fitting.
It feels like a 7.
Yeah.
I feel like 8, especially following 7, feels like a 9, but I'm gonna dock it half a
9.
point for the lack of infected in any way. So it's an 8.5.
Yeah. You know what?
Okay, fair.
Like in a vacuum of it just being a TV show, and not having the context of all the things that they took out, I would give it a 9. But I want to say the same thing. I want to say 8.5 sounds good, because they just took out too much. There's a big chance for a combat scene, a big one like they had in episode 5 or whatever.
And whatnot.
Yeah, bonding with David, sort of becoming sort of whatever you want to call it, falling under a spell in a way, right?
Yeah.
For a little bit.
It all felt a touch rushed, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's kind of all felt a touch rush this whole season, and what it comes down to that I'm worried about is, and I really hope they don't do this, I really don't want them to do the Twilight, Harry Potter, fucking Walking Dead thing, Attack on Titan thing, where you have a ton of source material to go off of that you rush through at the beginning, and then you just fucking fart out 85 seasons of like the
garbage,
the second half of the whole source material. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were chatting about that yesterday.
Part 1 is rushed, and then part 2 is artificially lengthened, right? And then my nightmare scenario is they just keep going
and make new content.
And they just
they do the Lost or Game of Thrones, where they go past the initial idea and then just write their own shit.
Now said, we might do a part 3. We might, and I'm just like, Christ. If you start giving the show fucking notes about what 3 might be about, I'll kill myself. I in a video game.
In a video game.
Yeah, but
I swear to God, if they take rough, loose notes and make a season of a show based on a suggestion from a writer, I'm gonna die.
I hate to break it to you, but like, I'm sure Neil Druckmann cares deeply about what you think. But I'm sure HBO cutting him a check is more inspiring and motivating.
That's fair. That is a fair point.
Look, if they actually do make a Last of Us Part 3, I don't really know what they'd make it about. I don't really know what they would make a Part 2 about, to be honest.
Well, we chatted about that before. It could have been like prequel stuff, how people got to certain places. It could be side characters, how they got there.
Even more episodes without infected.
Even more episodes without infected.
How about we just do one episode where we follow a clicker around? A clicker around a busy encampment, and he just fucking kills people, and I'm just
like a handy cam, right?
Exactly, yeah, literally.
It's a guy who had a pro.
It's a GoPro, yeah. He fucking died, some surfer bro.
Running around.
Totally, it's a BMX bro. Or like a motocross dude who like got infected while he had his GoPro attached. So
and they just find like an SD card and they're like, holy shit, and plug it into some computer that's running on a Jenny, and they just watch it run around and. You know what I mean?
Videos of like cats running around outside.
Yeah, what do your cat do when you're not home?
When there's no one around though, he's just running around, just exploring, making little noises.
And dude, here's the thing: they're in the last part of The Last of Us, post Nathan, there are no infected either. There is not another infected that pops up.
Post Nathan?
Right.
What do you mean?
Or sorry, post Nathan. God damn it, post David.
I got it.
Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake is infected my brain. South Park Nathan Drake is really fucking fucked with my mind. Sorry, yeah, post David. There is no infected. They don't.
Yeah, they don't encounter. Yeah.
So
because they're just kind of wrapping stuff up.
Damn. So episode 5 was like the last episode. Like Perry getting his fucking head ripped off. It's like the last time we see infected. That's why. Okay, so. That makes sense. Why? Yeah, I guess I can't.
People have been whining about how there's no infected, and that's like, oh well, I got news for you guys. If you thought the last episodes didn't have any infected, get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah. So you won't. There's gonna be.
That'll be a lasting disappointment for me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed about it. I'm not much of like a zombie girl, but like I feel like that's kind of. I'm a little disappointed. I'm pretty disappointed, actually. And I feel like, that's a lot of lost opportunity for some really cool special effects and stuff like that.
They did a lot of lore changing, too, around like the mechanisms of the cordyceps.
The spores and
stuff. Yeah,
so
to then just be like, I don't know, there aren't any fucking around, so I'm not too worried about it.
They're like, why wouldn't they? Yeah.
There's no spores because there's fucking no infected, so you don't have to wear masks.
Yo, actually,
you'll never see one.
You're right, because like, remember how they changed the sort of like
way in which they get
the tentacle thing.
Yeah, the little
and then
the things that come out of their mouth.
If there's not going to be any fucking
the last time we saw that
came back up.
Yeah, the last time we saw that was when they get Tess.
It's like summertime.
That's like when they got and that was like what, episode 2?
2.
Yeah.
Well, so episode 1 and 2.
Why did they go through all of that to just not revisit it? I mean, I'm sure they'll revisit it in.
Yeah, well, they didn't. No, because they didn't even trigger the vines in episode 5 or 5 or 6, whichever one had the horde. They didn't trigger that. It was
5,
a fucking truck. It was a truck falling into where all the infected were.
Yeah.
So that was a good dead giveaway to anyone, anyways, right? So they changed a lot of lore for them to just not use a pretty big part of
the changes, like.
So that's why this feels rushed.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They're literally just like cutscening this.
Rushed. Even you know what? In retrospect, like the scene where they took away the horde that attacked like Ellie and David. Yeah. Like that building of like it really that's how cult leaders get you. You know?
Well, that was just exactly
right. Like
just befriending you and your trust.
He doesn't feel like a cult leader because he doesn't feel like a friend. He doesn't feel like somebody you can trust. And
well, the show, you're just like, at no point do you trust this guy. But then, I really can't trust this guy. He actually specifically hates me. Yeah. He wants to kill me, actually.
I think he even kind of tried it in the scene where, that's why they didn't show the human body parts being butchered immediately after Ellie. I think that might have been them trying to redeem it. Yeah. But I still don't feel like it was like, oh, this guy's friendly and trustworthy. Like, she's in a cage at that point.
I mean, Nathan Drake
he's not gonna, like,
as a South Park character, never felt trustworthy just because his voice is so fucking hilarious. So you're always like, this guy's gonna fuck me over, huh? Right, but at the same time, you were like, I did, feel trusting of that guy or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that scene is actually really Buck. Like, there's a part where he's like trying to slam like a big shelf type thing in front,
and there's got its face stuck in the fucking
10 clickers running up the stairs, and you're just shooting a bow and your gun, blasting heads or whatever to try and keep them away from you while you flee this huge horde or whatever.
Yeah,
and
shit. That's a.
Why'd you take that out? Just to make the last episode 45 minutes? You could have done 2 seasons of this. Easily.
They really could have.
Easily.
Maybe it was a funding thing. I'm just a little disappointed.
If it's a funding thing, I don't understand.
It's like the
How
largest.
much more fucking money do you need?
I guess
it's like the largest film production in Alberta's or Canada's history.
I'm just mad.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most expensive TV shows ever made. So.
Yeah, it dwarfs every season of Game of Thrones what they spent on this series. Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy because Game of Thrones had dragons and battles constantly.
Yep.
Constantly.
Yeah, you think.
And in this show, they have a lot of talking between 2 people.
Right, like the episode 7 where there was 1 infected.
Yeah.
That was like one dude with some spirit gum on his face, like.
Yeah.
Man, I'm actually, I got a lot to think about.
Me too. Actually, it's funny as we talk about this, I've become more disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Well,
like
I'm glad to have helped.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. We're gonna have to see episode 9 because
Yep.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited for the world to know the story, kind of, so I can finally like shut the fuck up about it and like point them to something they can just watch. And I really hope it doesn't have to be The Last of Us the movie on YouTube, because I feel like that's gonna get a lot less traction with people.
HBO's, you know.
Hey mom, will you watch this video on YouTube? It's about video games. No.
So Steve, why don't you ask your grandma what she thinks? God, shout out to her roasting us in the comments.
Oh yeah, what'd she say? I made it 8 minutes.
I made it 6 minutes. Sorry, Steven, I can't. It's bad.
You're right. I don't know why my grandma did that, but thank you for, I guess, for trying. That was with Matt. One view.
We tried to get my dad to watch the show.
Oh, did you?
And then in the car. Remember we were in the car from Calgary to Edmonton?
Don't remember anything.
Okay. Trying to convince my dad to watch this show in the first place and tell him about the podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
Although I feel like he's one to follow through with that stuff when he's not so busy.
Yeah. Well, we'll get some opinions from some just show viewers exclusively, I guess. I'm sure we're gonna get a flood of articles as we have with kind of every episode. People have really been liking this last one. No one's pissing moaning about it. But...
we did have our first hater on one of the YouTube shorts too. That was fun.
Oh yeah, what'd they say? This is why
some people shouldn't get into podcasting. I instantly decided, I was like, I'm just gonna respond in ways to get him to keep responding. So it was just farming engagement, and it went like 5 comments deep, and I'm pretty sure he realized that he was just being kind of like drawn into it. Was just thanks for the algorithm, bro. So I salute you.
I don't know. Do you know what short that was?
Not offhand, no.
Doesn't fucking
it's
matter.
funny, like
the minute, were all pretty unhinged.
The minute that started happening.
Speaking of algorithms, like, comment, subscribe, share. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Please do all the things that make us more popular, or I will be less popular. And do you want to be responsible for that? What are you? Are you joking?
Yeah. How do you sleep at night?
Everyone looks sad for a second. I mean, come on. What about you, Obama? What do you think about this?
Can we start playing? We have like behind this.
You're fucking fired. You're fucking fire her. Fucking fire her right now. What do you think about that? What do you think about that betrayal, Obama?
Yeah. What do you think about that, Obama? Exactly. Right.
That's pretty exactly. He said it right. He said it best.
All right.
Make sure you keep the part where she fucked it up in. All right?
Oh, I'm not cutting anything out. But we are closing in on 2 hours. So also, I gotta. Oh man, at the end of a 2-hour podcast, I gotta piss so bad.
I got pee so bad.
Buddy.
Yeah. So if you listener as well, if you have to pee
in the fridge,
if you gotta pee, you should go pee.
You're welcome to pee. Everybody go pee. And I think that's the end of episode Schmate.
7, 8.
I don't know where the M comes from.
7, 8 people.
7, 8. This is the theory where it's gonna go episode 7, 8, 9. 9. No. What have you done? So look forward to our next episode, where I'm sure we're gonna all be emotionally charged and either really excited.
Yeah, we're gonna be coming out swinging.
There's gonna be some kind of tears.
Yeah.
Like angry, happy, sad, maybe all of them.
There will be blood.
It'll be salty.
I drink your milkshake. It's gonna be a wild ride, because 45 minutes it's just, I haven't seen the episode yet.
We just talked for 2 hours.
Yeah. It's not gonna be enough.
This feels like this is the length of time that you should have ended the show with.
Yeah.
So,
looking at you, HBO.
Hopefully you're not watching this, to be honest. But
hey, this one's fine.
Yeah, I know. We're above board now. We always were. Yeah, no, that's it, everyone. Hope you had a good time, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Well, wait, what is it? It's Tuesday? Yeah, we'll be on time next week.
Yes, we will.
We're caught up now.
Yes.
All right.
I'm back in my province.
See you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.